Thanks for watching Emerald Downs Weekly right here on NBC Sports Northwest. 1 hour of Emerald Downs and thoroughbred racing talk. We're off to a great start at Emerald Downs for 2018. Another weekend coming up. Joe Withey along with Gary Doherty and Vince Brune. Vince joining the show today. Good to have you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I get to do the pinch hitters role this week, and I'm looking forward to it. We got a pretty interesting stakes race this Sunday, too, we'll be talking about.
Yes, we will. Vince is our Director of Media Relations. Gary, our Promotions Manager. And speaking of promotions and special events, we have just been loading up the list all season long and more this week, Gary.
Yeah, you bet. 3 days of racing. It'll be June. So first Fab Friday for the Brewers Night. That'll be this Friday, 6:30 is our first race. Come on out. Chainline Brewing Company's here from Kirkland, Washington. We'll have a DJ playing music between the races. The $1,000 horseshoe toss will come again. Hopefully maybe somebody can throw a ringer and get it close. And after the races, we'll have the band The Hipsters playing on the 5th floor starting about 10 o'clock. They're an alternative rock dance music group. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Hey, that's a lot happening on Friday night. First race at 6:30. Yeah, great atmosphere out by the winner's circle right on the track apron near the Emerald Downs Oval itself with the Brewers Night area and the DJ and a lot of activity. Vince observes most of weeknight racing from his perch atop the 6th floor. I'll get it out. What do you like about Friday night racing?
Well, you know, as a native Northwesterner, I've always kind of been partial to dusk, you know, especially in the summertime season. I remember playing baseball until the parents would call you in, you know, at about 9 or 10 o'clock and get that last inning in. It's just a real beautiful time of night here, you know, and the atmosphere is fun, like Gary getting the live music out here. And it's just a great way to kick off the racing week, I think.
It is. And 7 races on Friday nights at Emerald Downs, again starting at 6:30. And nobody's been able to hit that Pick 7 jackpot wager of late, Gary.
$11,000. Oh, in fact, $13,000 now in the carryover. 7 races. One unique ticket would take that money plus whatever's bet Friday night on a Fab Friday.
Thanks to our TV department for this graphic support, or we'd be having all kinds of bad information out there. But yeah, the Pick 7 jackpot is not that easy to hit, 7 winners, but for 20 cents you get 1 horse per race, and then the jackpot status at the end of the evening makes it difficult to win, but it's still the top tickets get paid.
Yes, we've had one person take down the entire pool. But I think the more there's money in the pool, there'll be more money bet during the night. So 60% of the money bet after takeout goes to most tickets are the most correct. So I see this handle really moving up here since we're over $10,000 in the pool.
So the Pick 7 jackpot pool, all 7 races are included on Friday nights at Emerald Downs. We've got a handicapping contest as well on Saturday here at the track, Gary.
We do. Second annual. You get $2,000 in prize money, and I tried to get the money room to give me $2,000, but they wouldn't do it, Joe.
Okay.
I was going to lay it right on the table. Vince,
well, they saw
I would have lost it.
They saw the way you laid out these extras on the table, and it's not too accurate or organized. So trusting you with $2,100 bills, I don't know about that.
So back to the contest. We'll use 5 races from Emerald Downs, 5 races from California. Saturday, 11:30, you can check in, and whoever can do the best with a $2 win place bet on the 5 races from Emerald and 5 from Santa Anita would be the top winner, and $1,000 the winner, and also another $1,000 to places 2 through 5.
Nice. Okay, handicapping contest. How do you sign up for that?
Right now, you can go online at our website and go to the day, June 2nd, and download the PDF, or come by the 5th floor. I'll be there 11 in the morning sharp. You can sign in there, and you'll get a card. We'll put $40 on it. You give us 40, and you bet with that card, and all the money you win, you can take home.
Okay, handicapping contest this Saturday at Emerald Downs. Our first race goes at 2 p.m. Santa Anita a little bit before that, and there's a lot of different formats in handicapping contests, Vince, and this is certainly a popular one.
I like it, and I really want to applaud Gary for getting these things going again.
Yep.
It's something we haven't done a lot of lately. When I was in California, a lot of my friends down there and handicappers used to say, boy, Emerald Downs is really a great place, and they run some good contests up there, and people back when they qualify for the NHC. So a lot of fun to be competitive and compete against your pals and your colleagues and see who's the best.
Well, as long as Gary can give away some of Phil Ziegler's money. He's happy to do that. In fact, I don't think Phil knows about all the money that Gary does give away of the tracks. But this will attract some interest in Emerald Downs and some wagering, because you need to do some handicapping to get ready for these. Okay, and more coming up. We're just a little more than a week away from Indian relay racing at Emerald Downs. The Indian Nation comes out in force to Auburn, Washington. We have had some fantastic moments. This is pure horsemanship, this stuff.
You bet. 21 teams this year, right, Vince, I believe?
21 teams, yeah, and including this year, I believe, for the first time, we got Alberta and Saskatchewan up in Canada coming down. And, you know, I didn't know what to think of the first year we did this, I believe, in 2015, and I just couldn't have been more impressed with not only how talented, but how serious the competition is. This is, and as you can see there, those handoffs are really thrilling, and you can see they're not wearing any pads or anything out there, so it's those are some brave warriors out there competing in this, and looking forward to it.
The transitions are just spectacular, and one rider rides in 4 different legs in each 2-mile race. June 8th, 9th, and 10th, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon, the Indian Relay Racing Muckleshoot Gold Cup here at Emerald Downs. And make plans to see that. Of course, we'll have thoroughbred racing each and every day. And by the way, Saturday, June 9th, is the final leg of the Triple Crown. Justify seeking Triple Crown glory at Belmont Park. And also on Sunday, June 10th, 3-year-old fillies in the Kent Stakes as well. So always a big weekend at Emerald Downs, and we're looking forward to it. And in the break there, we might organize this these trinkets on the desk a little bit better. And
yeah, my mom thinks we're kind of helter-skelter.
Your problem is you're wearing 2 pairs of glasses for some reason up on your forehead, and that
2 sets of readers.
That can confuse maybe. Emerald Downs Weekly continues. Thanks for joining us. Joe Withey along with Gary Doherty and Vince Brune. And on today's show, we're going to take a look at some of the great events on track and throughout the facility last week. We're going to preview the Governor's Stakes. One of the great rivalries in Washington racing history figures to resume this Sunday in the Governor's Stakes. And much more. Hey, last weekend, again, Memorial Day weekend, 4 days of racing. Field size was strong on the track, and we had so many special events going on, Gary.
Here come the Buffalo Soldiers coming out, doing a little performance between the races. It was a fallen soldier memorial before the first race.
Jordan Newbill, the local president of the Buffalo Soldiers, who date back to 1866.
Now this thing here, this was cool.
That's a bad person, run away from a cop.
Whoa, look at that. That is a U.S. Army Canine unit performing on the track with their highly trained German Shepherd. And there's the unit and the dog in the foreground there. What an honor and pleasure to have Dave Reichert, U.S. Congressman, here. By the way, he does reside in Auburn. A special presentation, Gary.
That was neat. Al McEachern got a flag from the Capitol building, Washington, D.C. It flew over the Capitol building and brought it out here and donated it to Emerald Downs, and we're going to put that up on the track level.
Yeah, and both Dave Reichert, an Air Force veteran, and Jack Hodge, a U.S. Army veteran, involved in that. There's Bill Durnan from our customer service. George Colello. You think he cooked any Italian food when he was in the service? We recognized several of our veterans in the paddock on Sunday. Vince, you learn anything about those guys?
I did. I thought that was an exceptional idea, Joe. I really enjoyed that. Like Sally Steiner, several people were texting me, hey, this is really cool. And I think you started a new tradition there. And you mentioned, we were talking, we got so many veterans here that, wow, what a neat thing for people to, you see some of these faces, but you learn they have a great background, too.
That's right. We didn't get any gals this year, but there are plenty of those, including Michelle Waters. She was in the service for several years. But, a really fine Memorial Day weekend, recognizing our military veterans and honoring those certainly who passed in service service of the United States. So we did that well, and we're happy about all the people that participated there. We had 2 stakes races last weekend, and Vince, the Auburn Stakes for 3-year-olds, the Hastings for fillies and mares. How about the field size in those 2 races?
Well, yeah, 11 for each of them. Here's what was I thinking. You can see coming up on the far outside here, Kevin Orozco. That's Vicente Shadow on the inside, coming off the bench for Blaine Wright. Ran too good to lose there. And what was I thinking? Who went off favored at 2-1. 4 for 4 now sprinting, Joe.
He is. You know, he is a son of violence, a young sire who's off to a great start. Frank Lucarelli trainee. There's Luke in the winner's circle. And that is Boundary Bay for Glenn Todd between horses right there as well. And that was a tight one, but What Was I Thinking got the edge over Blaine Wright trainee, Vicente Shadow, as you mentioned. And Chris Randall, Nick Rossi, the owners of What Was I Thinking, they've got another good one, it looks like.
They've had some great ones here over the years. You think of Gallant Son, of course, off the top, who was a 2-year-old champion in 2008, ran great in the Breeders' Cup. But, yeah, that's a nice horse there. And really looking forward to watching the 3-year-olds, Joe. Sip and Fire, who you have a part of ownership in. I thought, looked like maybe a little bit short. Same with Elliott Bay. I think they'll improve off that, and it's really going to be a neat division this year.
It looks really good right behind those top 3. Yeah, there were 5 others that weren't that far behind. And, Gary, the Auburn Stakes is, as Vince said, it's good for things to come in the 3-year-old division.
Yeah, and it's great to see Chris Randall back owning horses. He's been away for a while. And he gets horses that that can compete at the stakes level, and here he is back, and his first win by a nose. That was a very exciting finish.
I was maybe a little premature on announcement there in the winner's circle. We'll talk about that a little later in the show in the Gary Doherty correction section. And then the Hastings Stakes on Monday, 11 fillies and mares. What a build-up to this one. Citizen Kitty, the defending champ, Invested Prospect, a gaudy sprint record at Emerald Downs, and the Shipper as well in there, Vince.
Yeah, right there, Mother of Dragons coming up, drifting out just a bit there, and Invested Prospect, pretty polished right again from Kevin Orozco. 2 stakes races, Kevin wins them both. One of them, he found a seam into the stretch to win on What Was I Thinking? And here he rationed Invested Prospects, considerable speed, pretty perfectly here. What a nice horse for the Marianskis and the Schneiders, Blaine Wright, to keep her going. Just when a lot of people were beginning to ride her off, maybe myself included.
Yeah, I'm with you.
She bounces back with a big effort. It just goes to show speed is always dangerous.
Very dangerous. And, she's now sprinted here 7 times and got 6 wins in the 3rd. Yeah. And, usually when she wins those prior races, she's around even money. She went to California, didn't do so well, but up here, on this dirt, she had 1 out. She run 3rd, and she got away at 8-1.
Yeah. 3rd favorite in the betting. Mother of Dragons, a pretty strong favorite. Citizen Kitty, 2nd choice. By the way, winner, Invested Prospect, 3rd place. Citizen Kitty out of that same mare, No Constraints. Sisters running 1st and 3rd, and I know they have finished 1st and 2nd before as well.
They have, and Citizen Kitty, what a nice horse. Yeah. Maybe, she was in the 11 hole this time, and she fires every time up here, Joe.
She does.
And whereas Invested Prospect, maybe a little suspect going around 2 turns, Citizen Kitty has routed here well in the past, so I would expect big things again from her going forward.
Yeah. And Vince mentioned Kevin Orozco winning both stakes, a tremendous week. How about Rocco Bone with a couple of his stretch running wins last week? He won 4 races Friday night, 4 consecutive, and one of those was the Gold Monkey. He is coming up. Rocco had this horse way off the pace. Look at this finish right here.
Yep, you bet.
Over Bradford. The Gold Monkey was wagered. He's in the barn of Joe Toy. And Rocco pretty proud. I would be too. 4-1 on the Gold Monkey. Saturday, he had a win that was very similar to that one aboard One Macho Gambler. Again, a horse that didn't seem like he had much chance, Vince.
Look where he is right here. He's in 7th place, actually. And, yeah, poor Chew and I, it's been a long time between wins for him here, and he just gets snapped right there. Rocco shows you never give up and you keep driving and you can get a victory. He knows that finish line better than anyone here.
And Jeff Metz has had a lot of close call wins at the meet so far.
He has. Rocco, 15 days of racing, 15 different wins every day, all 15 cards.
New track record. For Rocco Bowen, we'll be right back. Much more to talk about here on Emerald Downs Weekly. Did we short you a little bit in that segment?
A little bit.
Short you?
A tad.
Okay.
We'll make up.
I found a mistake. Go with the mistake.
Uh-oh. What did I say?
Those are rare.
Emerald Downs Weekly right here on NBC Sports Northwest. You can catch us at 11 p.m. every Thursday night and repeat it again 9 a.m. on Friday mornings. Joe Withey along with Gary Doherty, who's got a big smile going this week, and Vince Brune as well. And yeah, we're going to talk more last week and coming up at Emerald Downs. A lot to go on the show. Just a couple of dates to be aware of. We're going to start Twilight Racing on Saturdays coming up, Gary.
Yeah, June 16th, first Saturday night card, 5 p.m. start. Come out, watch some racing, have dinner, also have live music after the races on the 5th floor. Yeah. That the first band will be a tribute band to the Beatles, Paul McCartney, and Wings. And also during the races, we'll have a DJ playing music from the 70s, as the theme of the first Saturday night racing will be 70s night.
70s night, okay. That's once again Saturday's first race at 5 p.m. starting on June 16th here at Emerald Downs. So make plans to come on out for that. Of course, we're going to be open all day long on Saturdays for simulcasting from around the country. And the next day is Father's Day. Keep Dad in mind. Sunday, June 17th, Father's Day. Always a big day at the track as well.
Yep, a cab giveaway, a fantastic buffet, and tickets go on sale, reserve tickets 2 weeks prior, so June 3rd.
Yeah, cap giveaway is always Father's Day here at Emerald Downs. And so looking forward to a couple of those dates, a little bit in the future, just about a half a month away. But let's get back to last weekend as well. Vince is also the manager of the Emerald Racing Club as well as director of media relations. The club scored last weekend, Vince.
Yeah, here she comes up the rail under Kevin Orozco. That's Zanab, a 7-year-old Montana bred by Catalfa. And that was her first start at Emerald Downs. And her first career went on dirt in 18 tries.
Look at that winner's circle.
Big crowd.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun to get off the schneid there. We have this Saturday we're going up to Blue Ribbon Farm and Griffin Place, side by side there in Buckley. Debbie Pabst and Mary Lou Griffin are always gracious hosts to the clubs. We'll see some brood mares, some stallions, some weanlings, some yearlings. It's really a lot of fun. And then we'll come back to the track, and we got a horse in the races that afternoon, Twirling Cinnamon with our other trainer, Zanab, trained by Larry and Sharon Ross. Twirling Cinnamon with Mike Puich. He's got his work cut out, Joe. He's going against Wine at 9 and Botch and Hot Bobby and some of those really tough older horses here at Emerald Downs at a mile. So that'll be a big day for us on Saturday.
Twirling Cinnamon, part of the club, came in from the Midwest, Oaklawn Park. He's had a race over the grounds now, so that has to help.
He did. He ran 2 weeks ago, actually, and he went out in 44-3 with Daytona Beach. They both paid the price that day, but he's a pretty good horse, so I'll look for him to run pretty well on Saturday.
The racing club, started by Sophia McKee, our marketing director, a few years back. Vince is the manager now, and it's pretty easy to get in the club, correct?
Yeah, just go to emeralddowns.com. We have an Emerald Racing Club section on there with a registration paper. And when we say $500, that's it. You won't see another bill the rest of the year. You'll have a lot of fun. You'll learn some things, and you'll learn about what's involved with horse ownership, thoroughbred ownership, and it's a lot of fun. And the goal is to try to not only have some fun, but teach people about racing and maybe have them take that next step up into ownership.
Yeah, like Jim and Mary Beth Perkins did from the first club, as well as Mike Muddy Waters, who's been a leading owner here at Emerald Downs. They were in the original Emerald Downs Racing Club.
Jim Engstrom, another example.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Seattle Smoke recently. And in the feature race Friday, we'll talk about a little group maybe that's in there with McDove.
Okay. So the club scores Zanab in her Emerald Downs debut, a nice winner. Well, every week at Emerald Downs, we recognize a person or people from each category. For instance, a groom of the week, an exercise rider of the week, the Washington bred of the week, and of course jockey, trainer, and owner. And Tim Bankers is the owner of that fast sprinter, Serbian Cyclone. And that horse scored a very fast win this
10-
weekend.
108.25, Joe, which was the fastest 6 of the meet so far. There you can see Rocco Bone on board. Look at those splits, 21-2, 43-4, 55-3. Boy, he was really rolling on that turn there when I watched that race. 108 and 25 100s.
Yeah,
smoking.
right.
Yeah, that's a Manny Ortiz horse just in from Turf Paradise.
Right.
And Manny won a bunch of races first week, and he's been with Tim Bankers for quite some time, and that's a good award for Tim to win.
Tim's been an owner in this state for quite a while, and also is the owner now of Blue Law, a horse we saw a lot last year, that beautiful gray. That horse has taken the first 2 sprint stakes up at Hastings this year, up in Vancouver, BC. We might see Blue Law at a higher level here at Emerald Downs this year than we saw him in the past. So
you bet. And we mentioned the honors, that Jockey of the Week thing where the committee meets behind closed doors after the end of the race week. That was a tough one this week.
Yeah, talk about some of the contenders.
You bet. And Alex Anaya's first career win at Emerald Downs on Great Eagle. He's a 19-year-old out of Kansas and had 4 career wins in Nebraska before coming here. Lorenzo Lopez with a couple of wins, a quarter horse win and thoroughbred win on the same card. You know, that's certainly good. And Sanguinetti's, you know, brought in 3 horses at 23-1 or higher. But how do you overlook Kevin Orozco with 6 wins overall and both stakes wins?
There's Alex Anaya aboard Great Eagle for trainer Larry Pierce. First win here at Emerald Downs. First win for jockey Alex Anaya. Nice score there on Saturday. Also on Saturday, Pretty Miss Vanna won, as Vince mentioned, and Sanguinetti has brought in some horses. And in the Doherty digit rating, she's looking pretty good, isn't she?
She's been ranked number 1 for most of the meet, and I just did the stats earlier this week, and she's got a number approaching 200, and any number above 200 is just mind-blowing. She's won at 23-1, 32-1, and 29-1 of her 6 wins. So what a great start for Ann here at the meet.
Yeah, and those figures are in the program each and every day. It's a ranking based on win percentage and payoffs that Gary's been doing for several years. And Sanguinetti, number 1, if you're a handicapper and looking for a nice return on investment. And of course, Frank Lucarelli, our trainer of the week, he's going to go over a certain figure pretty soon. Maybe that'll be in the Doherty correction segment later. Have I mentioned that again? I'm involved in that too. We'll be right back here on Emerald Downs Weekly.
Lucarelli.
I made a mistake.
You need...
Emerald Downs Weekly right here on NBC Sports Northwest. Stakes doubleheader last week, and we have 3 stakes in. And one of the divisions who hasn't participated yet for added money is the Glamour division, the older horses, the horses looking toward that Long Acres Mile on August 12th this year. Joe with you along with Gary Doherty and Vince Brune. And Vince, we have just an outstanding rivalry in the older horse division going on several seasons now.
We do. This is kind of the 3rd year it's happened. Barkley in 2016, when they were 3-year-olds, kind of had Mach 1's number. And then last year, Barkley did win the Governors, but then Mach 1 got on the roll with 3 stakes wins and a runner-up finish in the Long Acres Mile. And he was kind of the better horse last year.
Yeah.
And then Barkley reverted this year and won the allowance race, which was the prep for the Governors. But if you go head-to-head and who's finished ahead of each other, it's 7-3 in favor of Barkley. But Mach 1 rules, I wouldn't sell him short. He's been right there every time.
He has, and the way he came to the front last summer, Gary, Mach 1 rules, 3 stakes wins, Washington Horse of the Year, didn't win the mile but ran a great second.
Huge second in the mile. And, you know, I was talking to Frank after he run second on the allowance race a few weeks ago. I said, Frank, you know, the big money's the next race. He goes, Gary, yep, you're right. The big money is the Governors. So maybe we can see a switch in the top 2.
The Governors is this Sunday, 6 furlongs at Emerald Downs. Both are expected to run. They both entered. And it's just been such a great rivalry. We actually caught up with a guy named Vince Brune and getting some comments on this rivalry. Let's hear from some of the track regulars on the Barkley Mach 1 rules rivalry.
You know, it's on a much different scale, but it's almost like a Ferndon Alley-Dar. You know, people can't wait to see them run against each other. Me as a racing fan, I think it's great. You know, and it's hard to root against either horse. You know, Frank Lucarelli is a really good friend of mine. I always root for Frank. We root for each other. And Howard's been around forever. He knows how to win those kind of races. So for me, from my perspective, I think it's awesome to just, I always stick around. If I don't have a horse in that day, I try to be here to watch that race. It's great. And you know, you can't separate the two of them.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good rivalry. You know, Barkley was dominant for a while. Last year, Mach 1 was dominant. Now Barkley turned the tables on him.
I was fortunate to ride a lot of the better horses that ever ran in the Northwest, and I cannot recall. I mean, usually you'll have a season where horses hook up in several races, but this is carry on 3 to 4 years already here now with these two, and I think it's great because the fans know both horses, and both horses are athletic competitors. They both want to win, and so it's led to a great rivalry.
Those two horses, you know, they've run against each other enough, and we got the best of him last year, and looks like it's going to be something for everybody to come out and see, that's for sure.
I think those rivalries are good for racing. You know, Barkley got the better of them, and boy, Mach 1 Rules and the Lucarelli team, they sure just hung in there, and they were like kept being second to Barkley, and you say, boy, it's too bad that they happen to be the same age. You know, they're 2-year-olds of the same season. But then the next year, Mach 1 Rule, he really turned into a nice horse, and he kind of turned the tables on him, and he had the better year. So we're just starting out in 2018, and Barkley ran him down and got the win, first one out of this season. But I think it's right now we got the NBA playoffs, and you have those rivalries where they go back and forth and take turns winning. So I do think that it's great for sports, and for the racing fans, you know, when one horse just wins and wins and wins, there's not quite as exciting. But when there's a rivalry going, I think it makes for an exciting time.
Yeah, and the tail of the tape here, each is a 5-year-old. Barkley has won 4 of the 5 sprint races, or outrun Mach 1 several times in sprints. It's a little closer in routes. Barkley gets the edge 3-2. In stakes races against each other, Barkley has won 5, or has outrun Mach 1 Rules 5-3. Total stakes wins at Emerald Downs, Mach 1 Rules has 6, Barkley 5. Of course, Mach 1 Rules won 3 stakes as a 2-year-old. And there is the head-to-head, as Vince mentioned. It's 7-3, and it doesn't seem quite that stark if you have been watching for years. But Mach 1 Rules has a little bit higher earnings because of his second in the mile, and he has traveled to California. But that is one heck of a rivalry. You know, taking away some of the comments of those people we heard from, Emerald Downs regulars, and especially Gary Bays. It's funny because he, as he said, he rode so many of the top Northwest horses, Vince, and it just didn't happen year to year like that.
Yeah, and what really also makes it special is their styles are kind of similar on the racetrack. So they are hooking up in the stretch. And last time I thought Barkley kind of got the little jump on Mach 1 Rules there, and he really had a quick burst of speed there under Javier Matias at about the 8th pole. But Mach 1 Rules finished pretty good there. So, but when they race against each other, they kind of, I'm sure they're very familiar with each other on the racetrack by now.
I guess, yeah. And also another point there is, you know, when Barkley wins, you know, you look, where's Mach 1 Rules? Usually he's very close, and the vice versa. You kind of hope the other one is right there. I mean, I agree with what Mike Puich said. You kind of root for both of them in this rivalry.
Exactly, and I guess we have an additional horse here, Riser. We've been talking about Blaine Wright's horse here earlier last few months, and he's coming in from Churchill Downs, and maybe he upsets apple carts.
Well, he is a very talented 4-year-old Riser. He is also entered in the Governors, and of course he was our 3-year-old of the meeting last year here at Emerald Downs. So Blaine Wright jumping in against Lucarelli and Howard Belvoir in that rivalry. How about last week's trivia? We had a winner. And what was the question? The most recent horse to lose the Belmont after winning the Derby and the Preakness. And that answer, that was California Chrome back in 2014. And Garrett Talerico had the right answer. He gets tickets to Emerald Downs. This week's question, let's move on. Garrett, nice job. And Vince, take it away.
Well, Rocco Bowen needs 4 wins for 500 at Emerald Downs. He'll be the 8th jockey to hit that. Who is the all-time leading jockey at Emerald Downs?
Yeah, send your answers to trivia@emeralddowns.com. If you know the answer, the track's all-time leading jockey. Okay, let's take a break, and we'll be right back on Emerald Downs Weekly. Gary, you've got a spreadsheet on that, don't you?
I do.
Okay, that's good.
We also got Javier Matias and Jennifer Whitaker are within 30 of 500 too, so they're going to be getting there before long. That'll make 10.
500. 2 with over 1,000.
Emerald Downs Weekly right here on NBC Sports Northwest, talking Emerald Downs. Fantastic 4 days of racing last weekend, 3 days this week, Friday night at 6:30, Saturday and Sunday at 2 p.m. And we had a visitor to the track last weekend, a very distinguished thoroughbred racing visitor, member of the Hall of Fame. His son, Austin, is riding here at Emerald Downs this year. So Alex Solis visited the track, saw his son, and he is one of those regal fellas in the history of thoroughbred racing, Vince.
Yeah, when I was in California for many years, have to go to the Jocks Room for quotes. Him and Lafitte were kind of best buddies. Lafitte, Pinkai, and Alex, they were side-by-side lockers for many years, and both very agreeable and easy to deal with. My greatest Alex,
both natives of Panama.
Both Panamanian, yeah. And one of my favorite recollections of Alex, I was there the day in 1996 when Cigar was trying to equal Citation's win streak, and Alex Solis on a horse named Darren Go at 39-1. And it was got the win going away, beat Cigar, and the place was just like a pall was cast. It just got so quiet, and it was an amazing win. Richard Mandela, who he's now working for, was the trainer at Darren Go, but that was an incredible day for Alex.
And you've looked up some of his stats. I mean, he has had an incredible career.
Yeah, I think he won a Greatest Stakes race like over 30 straight years. Won over 300 Greatest Stakes in his career. Did it all on the racetrack, and it's neat to see a son who has the passion, to be a great rider.
Yeah, Hall of Fame for Alex Solis, over 5,000 wins. That is a very select group for a jockey. And we caught up with Alex Monday afternoon here at Emerald Downs.
Well, he's doing very well. He's a kid that likes to learn. He works very hard at it, and I think he had the blueprint. He knows what the blueprint says, and he just got to stick to it and work hard. I think it's the hard work that you have to put into, and you have to be. This is a very tough game, as you know, and I think if he does the hard work and dedication and the study and put the hours that you have to put into this game, things will happen.
Yeah, well, son Austin, of course, got off to a great start, winning our opening day feature, and good, strong kid. He has learned from the best. And Alex himself, his career from Panama, went to Florida, did quite well there, and then in the mid-'80s, he decided to make a move. And Southern Cal at that time, Vince, as you know, Lafitte Pinkai, Bill Shoemaker, Chris McCarron, Sandy Hawley, Eddie Delahousse, Fernando Toro. You just don't break in there.
Chris McCarron, I mean, you go on and on. Yeah, I think the horse that really helped put him on the map was Snow Chief, who was favored in the 1986 Kentucky Derby, got beat that day, but then came back and won the Preakness for trainer Mel Studi, and that one really got people to take notice. I remember when he first came up from Florida, he was called Alexis Solis, and then shortened it to Alex. I think he came to Longacres. We saw him there. I think
won 2 straight derbies.
Yeah, and I think he won a Gottstein Futurity too, maybe on Maharis Red, if I'm recalling right. And nice guy. I mean, just he was one of those jockeys who was very consistent. He rode a heck of a lot of races. He was one of those guys who would ride, about 70% of the card day in, day out, and all kinds of horses, and just very professional.
Yeah,
he rode Lava Man.
Okay.
Back-to-back years, he won the San Diego Handicap and the Gold Cup, the Hollywood Gold Cup. He won on both in back-to-back years. I think only jockey do that in consecutive years.
And Alex actually talked about his own career, too. We got him to brag a little bit.
When you're 18, 19, 20 years old, of course, you're invincible. But I was leading rider in Florida, just like you mentioned, and when I moved to to California, I know it was going to be a different story because I was going to compete with some incredible riders. Not that I didn't in Florida, but I was going to compete with Shoemaker and Lafitte and Chris McCarron, De La Hus, and all these great riders. And there was a young guy coming up at the same time as Gary Stevens, and I knew that I had to work hard and give it my best. Finishing second in the Kentucky Derby 3 times is still a dagger in my heart. But you know what? I had no regrets. I tried my best, and it's one of those things that happens in racing, and I had to live with it. But I had to enjoy the road that I had along the way of my career, and I'm very happy and I'm very proud of that.
He has aspirations of becoming a trainer, as Vince mentioned earlier, working for trainer Richard Mandella, who put him on so many of those graded stakes winners, Alex Solis. And that leads us toward who is the greatest jockey of all time, or, you know, maybe your favorite jockey slips in a little bit in that segment. Vince, how about you?
Well, you kind of called it. My favorite to watch was Eddie D. De La Hus, because he could just do anything on a horse and make it look so graceful and easy. He'd win a race by a neck and just be in complete and utter control of it. For a big money rider, Gary Stevens was about as good as it gets, I think. You know, the guy would rise to the occasion, just an intense competitor, and the bigger the moment, the greater Gary always rode.
Gary could get those horses to go pretty fast early and just keep them going. Yeah. It was incredible.
Yeah.
And, of course, Eddie D, from dead last or on the lead, it didn't matter. He had a great clock and judge. How about you, Gary?
Yeah, I know Gary Stevens. The neat thing was he was riding a Linkers, so we got to see him ride every day. You know, one year won 232 races in 1 year, and here's our local kid from Boise, Idaho, heading down south, you know, to ride against the big boys, and he didn't come back. He stayed down there and won riding titles, and like Vince was saying, is, you know, one of the all-time best riders. I also, you know, doing some research on jockeys, just seeing what Bill Shoemaker did. He won like 18 to 20 consecutive, like Santa Anita riding titles. Was leading rider of most wins for many years until that got passed. You know, Jerry Bailey was another phenomenal rider, and right now, you know, Johnny V.
Well, who do you like, man? You're throwing out all these great jockeys. Who's the best?
Who's the best? I would say Bill Shoemaker.
Okay. Well, he took my segment time, so you know, I mean, I don't. Anyway, yeah, Gary.
Hurry.
At the end of his Longacres time, would put closers on the lead. That's how great he was becoming, and he would win. Anyway, we'll take a timeout. I'll say a little bit about that in the next segment. We have more upcoming here on Emerald Downs Weekly. Stay tuned.
Who's your jock?
They're talking to you in your ear, and you use all my time, man.
Shit. Well, we'll do it in the next segment.
Emerald Downs Weekly right here on NBC Sports Northwest. Thanks for joining us. It's been a fun show. So much to talk about at Emerald Downs this year. On the track, up on the 5th floor. The Clubhouse Casino, of course, open till 2 a.m. every day. We're going to do our corrections segment right now, because that way, if we do the corrections right now, it'll take up time and there'll be less mistakes we'll make the remainder of the show.
That'd be good.
So I made a mistake. Vince caught that the Gold Monkey trained by Jeff Metz, right, Vince, rather than Joe Toy.
That's right. Joe Toy had the horse last year, and then Lava Man, actually, Gary, that was Corey Nakatani, not Alex. Alex are a lot of great horses.
That's a lot of money changing hands between those two guys.
Yeah, that would be news to Alex if that was the case.
Yeah. That was bad.
Okay, and you are the jockey expert. Okay, and one mistake I didn't make on this show, but I made out in the winner's circle in front of everybody, was I had Frank Lucarelli at $10 million after winning the stake on Sunday with What Was I Thinking? But Vince, he's going to do it. It just didn't happen that moment.
Yeah, he's like $1,600 away. So, hey, why not say it when it's a great big moment and
round
the spotlight's on him?
Just round up to the nearest big number.
It's going to happen. You know, and Frank, by the way, is only 13 wins away from catching Tim McCann for most wins.
All time.
927, 914, and that what was I thinking? That was his 44th career stakes win, so he's fourth in that category too.
Jeez.
Wow. Yeah, those are some great milestones. So, Lucarelli ready to become the first Emerald Downs trainer to win $10 million in purses. And, yeah, if he was getting 27.5 like they used to get, anyway, it was a mistake. So the mistake segment. And as far as the greatest jockey,
Joe, who do you like?
Lafitte Pincay is right up there at the top for me.
Pirate?
Yeah. I mean, his strength and his, he just did it so quietly, but he could literally just keep a horse going and lift that neck and push him. How many times did you see him come back on again in Southern Cal, Vince?
Yeah, right. Even in his older ages, he never gave up in a race, and that was amazing to watch. He'd come, like you say, he'd come on again. He'd keep finding more horse, and what a competitor!
He's one of two jockeys to win a race riding title at Saratoga and Del Mar.
Yeah,
not many can say that.
They still talk about Pincay Power. That's what it was called.
Yeah, he was tremendous, and we had the pleasure of seeing him up close in person at Emerald Downs for, I think he won 18 of 32 mounts, something very close to that in his Emerald Downs stint. Those are good numbers. And Tim McCanna, he won a couple for Tim, and he said a couple things to Tim McCanna that, what's he talking about? And then Tim later found out that those were exactly true, and comments to use on that particular horse. Lafitte Pincay, one of the all-time greats, broke Bill Shoemaker's record, and later, of course, that was broken and shattered by native Washingtonian Russell Bays, the all-time winningest jockey in North American history by thousands of wins. We'll talk more about Russell as the season goes on. How about a race for this weekend? Friday at Emerald Downs, first race at 6:30. We have a pretty darn good feature race number 6 for fillies and mares, Vince.
Yeah, we mentioned trying to get some of the Emerald Racing Club people to branch out into ownership. Well, they did. Fat Cat Racing is, in fact, the silks are kind of cute. They're the actual picture of the cat solo that hangs around the Ross barn, and 8 people out of the Emerald Racing Club last year bought McDove at the end of the year, and she had the winner off over at Larry and Sharon's place, and she ran pretty good her first out. And I think she's right on course for a big effort in that starter allowance. Won't be easy. There's some very tough competition in there.
She finished second to Love This Bar on May 12th. Love This Bar's in the race. I'm going to take Guardian 1 in there. A win and a second in 2 starts at the meeting. Chris Densley trainee. Rocco Bowen happens to stay here on her, so the price isn't going to be great, but it looks like Guardian 1 is just, having a great year so far.
Yes.
I like her. What do you like?
Tough heat. Colleen's Diamond, the Hastings shipper, clipped heels of the 3/8 last time. Only won 1 race in her career, but against Gary Wales, who's having a darn good first season here at Emerald Downs. So if there's a lot of speed in this race, we're going 6.5. Look for her coming late.
Okay. That is Colleen's Diamond. So that's one horse race with 3 different opinions. It is a 9-horse field. That is the Friday night feature. And again, we have a pick 7 carryover this Friday night. It exceeds $13,000. The jackpot pick 7 starts right up front in race number 1 at Emerald Downs. Just 20 cents to get in that bet. That gives you 1 horse per race. And again, if nobody has all 7, or there isn't a sole winner with 7 of 7, the top tickets do get paid. Well, last week's big payoff was the pick 5 on Saturday. We had a 9-race card on Saturday, and maybe it was an 8-race card. That might be a correction. 8-race card. 4 of the winners were over 10 to 1. How about that, Vince, on Saturday?
Yeah, well, unbelievable. And here's Pretty Miss Vanna. We mentioned Anne Sanguinetti. Not only horse pay 32 to 1, it's winning like a 4 to 5 shot here. And I think that's a couple wins. Isn't that Cliff Balcom?
Yes.
Off to a nice start this year.
That's right.
So Anne Sanguinetti doing some. There's Cliff. And doing some great work early in the meet.
Number 1 on the Doherty digit by a good margin. Look at those payoffs. $66 to win for Pretty Miss Vanna. Other 10 to 1 winners on Saturday, Great Eagle, Brenner, and Tizzy Dean. So we had a pick 5 payoff on Saturday afternoon that was over $11,000. A huge pick 5 on Saturday. Do due to so many good long shots, and that was an exciting day at the races. Just a great 4-day race week. And again, 3 days this week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And, okay, we did our correction segment already. Gary, Fab Friday night coming up.
Yeah, you can come out, get in the horseshoe toss. We'll have you drop your entry form in on track level. We'll take 6 names, 3 and 3 alternates. Come on down after the 5th race. And if you can throw a ringer, we'll give you $1,000 cash. And I expect a big tip. No, it's
Phil's money. Let's give more of Phil's money away. Thanks to Vince for pinch hitting, and thanks for watching Emerald Downs Weekly. Have a great weekend.